שעוזר לו במצבי חציל אותי, העולם כאילו מתמוטט עליי. ולתוך הניסוי, וכמה שאת יותר ויותר תיקחי לך את ההקלטות ותעשי את ה-LYD בצורה מסודרת, אז את תקבלי כלים להתמודד במצבים האלה, במצבי חציל אותי בקיצור. וכשאני זמינה, אני זמינה. וכשאני לא, אז זה בסדר, כי זה אחד הדברים החשובים. גם לא להיות זמינה לפעמים, כדי להיות בכוחות, לעזור ברגעים אחרים, שמישהו אחר לא בכוחות. אז זה מה שיוצא לי כרגע, 7:31. טוב, יוצא לי פתאום הכנת סטיקרים. שעשוע 2034, טוב וטוב רע לכולנו. לפחות אני במצב רוח רע, טוב טוב רע, לתוך כן, הכנת סטיקרים זה בדרך כלל לשמוע ברקע. בוא נלך לקחת רגע את אוקיי. אז למי שנמצאת איפה שנמצאת, אבל זה זה לא בדיוק ללמד, אבל כן, אנחנו בקו אחד, יסודות, ללמד, המורה, איך בגמל ללמוד. אז את הולכת לשערים ולנעוץ בשערים ונכנסת למיירה זובי ויורדת למטה. ולוקחת את 20 בשמש, 34 בקרקע גוף. אוי, לא אוי, זה בעצם מתחיל מככה.
The 20th gate. Contemplation. 20th gate is in the throat. It's a deeply complex gate in the sense that it is the only verbal expression for the integration system. That is, it is the verbal expression that results from its relationship either with the 57th gate or the 34th gate or the 10th gate. So in that sense, through the 10th gate, it can express behavior. Through the 34th gate, it can express power. And through the 57th gate, it can express intuition. And all of those expressions are potential expressions that take place in the pure existential now. And this is the essence of the 20th gate. Every gate that is in a throat, the throat center, each and every one of these gates, they are gates that have a unique way of expressing themselves. When we're dealing with the 20th gate, we're dealing with a gate that says, I am now, or I am not now. And it is this nowness that's at the very core. So many people assume, given this name, contemplation, that in fact the 20th gate is a gate of pause, if you will, a gate where things are assessed. But we're dealing with a deeply individual gate in which everything operates in the now, on the pulse or not. This is not the opportunity to muse. This is all about the potential peripheral vision to allow one to operate correctly in the now. And what you see in the heading to the 20th gate is this recognition and awareness in the now, which transforms understanding into right action, or the potential of right action. And all of that is about the spontaneousness of that recognition and awareness. For me, the 20th gate is beautiful from another perspective, from its very construct as a hexagram. You know, if you look at the hexagram chop of the 20th gate, you will see that it has 4 yin lines. That is, the first, second, third, and fourth lines are yin, and the fifth and sixth lines are yang. And when, of course, you see that illustrated as the hexagram from the bottom upwards, what you're really looking at is a gateway. It's a gateway. And if you go back to the very ancient Confucian traditions in ancient China, and you can still see examples of these structures in the world. As a matter of fact, these gates were just created as a work of environmental art by building these gateways throughout Central Park in New York City. These gateways were spread out throughout China, and they were fascinating. You know, you would be walking along a normal pathway, and in the middle of that pathway, for no reason, is simply an arch that is a gateway. Now, it serves no purpose, and there is no gate. You know, there is simply this passage through, if you will. And the symbolism of the gateway is that as you're moving towards that gate, when you're finally in the gateway itself, this is the symbolism of the eternal now. And in that moment of the eternal now is the potential to simply be in the experience of being in the moment. Nothing more, nothing less. To be in that frozen moment, in the passage through the gateway, where all of the past flows behind you, where all of the future is in front of you. And yet every moment is a moment in which we move with the gateway. So here in the 20th gate, we have this potential of being rigidly in the now. Now understand the value of that. That when you look at the 57th gate out of the splenic center, that the 57th gate is one of the most powerful of all the survival fear gates, because it represents the fear of tomorrow. And that the fear of tomorrow is something that can be only eliminated by being in the now. So much of life, and so much of the potential of the good life, is overwhelmed by fears of tomorrow. And yet the true wisdom, and wisdom is one of the expressions of this gate, the true wisdom is to be correct in the now. And in being correct in the now, there's no need to be concerned about tomorrow. The 34th gate, the power of the great. This is the gate of power. It is perhaps the most startling power that the sacral center has. And this 34th gate is unusual in the way in which it operates. All of the other sacral gates, the other 8 sacral gates, they're all dealing with a single harmonic on the other end. And so in that sense, they are generating through a very specific channel. But when you're dealing with the 34th gate is part of the integration channel. The integration channel is a 4-part system. That is the 57th gate in the splenic system, the 10th gate in the G center, and the 20th gate in the throat center. So the 34th gate has a very complex task. That is, not only does it empower the spleen, but it can empower the identity and the throat, and all of them together, or in any combination. In other words, there's an enormous demand on the 34th gate. And when the 34th gate is connected to the 20th gate, and of course the 34 and the 20 are one of the 3 oppositions in the wheel that form a channel in definition. And that means that the 34 is invariably accompanied by the 20th gate, that is Sun-Earth configurations or nodal configurations. When we're dealing with that particular definition, we're dealing with the only pure example of the manifesting generator. In other words, this is the only way in which the throat and the sacral center can actually meet directly. Integration is the backbone of the survival system. And everything about the nature of looking at integration allows us to see the basic criteria for humans to be able to survive. In other words, the 34th gate is a gate that empowers the intuition of the 57th gate, and the 57th gate is all about how we survive. This is our archetype for survival. And that very intuitive empowerment then can lead to the perfection of form, can lead to the 1034 and the following of one's convictions, and ultimately to the ability charismatically to be able to operate existentially in the now and deal with the world as it is. So the 34th gate is a very powerful gate. It is power only when its display or use serves the common good. And of course, it doesn't always serve the common good. This goes to the point of operating correctly or not. But the thing about the 34th gate is its need to be busy. This is a generating gate, and as a generating gate, if you have the 34th gate in a defined sacral center, then you have to see that the use of your power is only something that's going to be correct out of response. That it's response that's going to allow you to generate the correct archetype that will allow you to fulfill your convictions, will allow you to operate correctly in the now. The 34th gate as a sacral gate is unusual in that it is asexual. In other words, that its energy is almost exclusively available for the survival process and the perfection of form process. All of the things that can be found within integration. The difficulty is for those who have the 34th gate and have it in an undefined sacral center. Then obviously that sacral center is being conditioned, and out of that conditioning is a not-self strategy. And the not-self strategy of the open sacral center is never knowing when enough is enough. And so these are people who do not know when to stop displaying power, or do not know when to display their power. And more than that, the display of power